Hello BookTube, this is Time My Last Book Reviews. My name is Albert, and before I get this video started, I just wanted to extend a big thank you to the whole BookTube community. I uploaded my first video 1 week ago today. Ever since then, I've gotten nothing but wonderful words of support from other booktubers, as well as wonderful kind words from new faces. It's been a wonderful experience, and I just want to extend a big thank you. A true testament to how wonderful this first week has been, that we're back here again for week 2, because it's time for my very first book review. And when I was trying to think of what book I wanted to review first for this channel, there was really only one choice for me. That was this guy right here, Sir Alex Trebek. I was trying to put into words just how important this guy was and what a fixture he was in all of our lives. And I think I can best sum it up like this. People my age and older will understand this. Growing up, there was no streaming services, no DVR. When television was on live, you just had to sit down and watch it live. So put this in perspective. For our entire lives, we sat in front of our televisions 5 nights a week to watch Alex. I think millions of people around the world sat down in front of their televisions at the same time to watch this man. If that isn't a true testament to what a fixture he was in our lives, then I don't know what is. So, in 2019, Alex put out this memoir. It's called The Answer Is, Reflections on My Life. And if you ask me, the title Reflections could not be more perfect, because that's what this book is. It's a whole series of little stories. To give you an example how short these stories are. Some of these stories, they only last a few pages, and those are the long ones. Some stories only last like 1 paragraph. So there's a collection of little stories that Alex apparently thought were very important and wanted to share with us. And I want to add on to that by reminding everyone that when Alex wrote this book, he was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. And he talks about it in this book too. He says, if I live, it would be great, but he knows his time is limited. So it puts into a new perspective when you read this book. It's really like the words of a dying man. Like, he looks back at his whole life. He's picking out little stories to tell us. So clearly, like everything else, everything he put in this book had some significance. Whether it was like little words of wisdom he wants to pass on to the rest of us, or little stories of how he became the man he was. And we start at the very beginning. He takes us to the town he grew up in called Sudbury. It was a mining town in Canada. And we follow him from as a young child with his father, and as well as teachers, and through his college years up to when he entered his professional working life as a host on the CBC in Canada. I'll give you one example of a story of how his previous experience helped shape him into the man he would become. All of us who watch Jeopardy, we always remember how, what a calming influence Alex was. If a person got a question wrong, you'd always say "Oh, I'm so sorry, you were so close," or "What I think you meant to say was," he would always try to keep the contestants calm to bring the best out of them. Well, he attributed that back to one of his first jobs. He was hosting a pop music show. Back in the day in the United States here, we had American Bandstand. Well, Alex essentially hosted the Canadian version of that show, and working on there, he worked with a lot of teenagers. So he would try to be a calming influence on the teenagers to bring out the best of them. And he took that with him throughout his life and all the way up to Jeopardy. Also, one of the most important things Alex emphasizes throughout the book too, in terms of what shaped him, and what he attributes his success to, is always, well, first of all, you got to work hard, and then when you work hard, you become lucky. And that's actually how we got the job hosting Jeopardy. A quick story. Those are my favorite stories in the book. So by this point in his career, Alex, he was a journeyman host, and he gets a call from, he's up in Canada, he gets a call from LA. They need a host for this tournament of Wheel of Fortune. The host at the time was a man named Chuck Woolery, and Alex never knew why, but Chuck Woolery, for whatever reason, couldn't host this tournament. Most likely it was a contract dispute, but he didn't really know for sure. So they called in Alex. Alex hosts this tournament on Wheel of Fortune. And then down the line, the big television producer Merv Griffin, the man behind a lot of these famous game shows, decides he wants to put together an hour block of television. And so he has Wheel of Fortune with the new host, Pat Sajak. You know, he's still there today, so that worked out pretty well. And as for the other half hour, he wanted to bring back Jeopardy, which had previously run 10 years prior, but then was taken off the air. And so when they're looking for a new host, Alex Trebek came to mind. As the legend has it, apparently Merv Griffin's mother really liked Alex, and she's the one who told her son, hire that man. But yeah, it goes to show you, one of the main things that Alex wants to translate in this book, you got to work hard. Put in the hard work, that's the only way you're going to get lucky. By luck, that's how he got the job on Jeopardy. And he hosted that for almost 40 years. Also, one of the best parts of this book for me, too, was the trip down memory lane. Like, there are multiple chapters where Alex talks about the more famous contestants who were there over the years. And the two of them I remember quite well. A lot of them were around before I was born. I was too young to remember them. But there were two that, when I came across them in the book, brought back so many memories. One of them, there was this woman. You guys might remember. I'll put her picture up here so you can know what I'm talking about. This woman, her name was Cindy Stowell. I remember her very vividly. At the time, she was dying from colon cancer. Not battling, like she was dying. And so when she was competing on Jeopardy, she was in so much pain. She was on heavy medications. And apparently only Alex and two other people knew about her condition. And she went on the show. Whatever money she won, she wanted to donate to cancer research. And, you know, she was on there. She won 6 games and won over $100,000. And so big success. She definitely accomplished her goal. But sad to say, like they knew her time was really limited too, and she would probably pass away before the episodes even aired. So what Alex said they did, they actually sent her a DVD of her run on the show, so she got to at least watch herself. And they sadly, in the 2 months of when they tape a show, and then by the time they air it, like 2 months go by. They said unfortunately by the time her episode aired, she had passed away. It was a sad story, but I remember her very vividly. So she clearly was very important to Alex too, because of all the famous contestants he could have put in this book, he chose her. And then of course, on a lighter note, there's the big man, Ken Jennings. Now I don't know how old you guys were when Ken Jennings was on Jeopardy, but I was in like 7th or 8th grade, and my God, that guy won game after game after game. He was the Jeopardy champion for almost 4 months. 5 nights a week for 4 months, this man was the reigning champion. It was one of the most incredible things I ever saw in my life. I remember at school, like when he finally lost, like everyone's like, just like shocked. Like, and I gotta go back and watch the footage of when that happened too, because I remember Alex, the woman who beat Ken, the studio audience, like everybody just gasped. Like it was like national news too. I'll never forget that as long as I live. I forget the exact number, but I think it was like 74 games. My God, yeah. It's like he was on television for almost 4 months. He won like 74 straight games. Good Lord. Oh yeah, to sum it up, it was just a fantastic read. If you grew up a Jeopardy fan, you love Jeopardy, you love Alex, this is definitely a must read. It was such a wonderful, heartwarming story, and you learned a lot about the man. And like I said, clearly, when you look back at it now, he wrote this as he was dying, so this is really the reflections of a dying man. So, before this video, I never even thought about that before I made this video. I'm like thinking in depth about this, and then it struck me like, oh yeah, wow, it's rather profound. And and one thing I should mention, when I was preparing for this video, I decided to get the audiobook. I mentioned this in my newbie tag. I love it when the audiobooks are read by that person. The audiobook was surprisingly so much fun because, first of all, Alex himself only reads 4 chapters. He reads the introduction, a couple chapters in the middle, and then the finale. And I think it's safe to say why, because, you know, he was battling cancer at the time. I think maybe the workload was too much for him. So for the rest of the book, he passed it along to Ken Jennings. So how appropriate. And it's funny too. It's like when they're reading the book, they don't just transition from Alex to Ken. without any warning. It's like you hear their spoken word. Alex comes on, he introduces Ken, and they go back and forth. It's really entertaining. So, at one point in the book, Alex goes on about the time he met his wife. He's like, "Oh, his wife, the love of his life." It's really funny. Like kind of like tags himself in. He's like, "Ken, like this might get weird, so I better read this part." And then when he's done, he tags Ken back in. Ken takes it the rest of the way. So yeah, the whole audiobook was a fun experience itself. I couldn't recommend that enough either. So yeah, in conclusion, like it's a wonderful read. I hope you all read it and take something away from it like I did. I think two of the things I'll take away from Alex's final words, like I said before, one was you always got to work hard, and that's the only way you're going to get lucky. You got to put the hard work in first. And another one, one thing there's a couple funny stories there that Alex learned along the way. You got to stay humble. Like, learn to laugh at yourself. Like, we're all human. We all make mistakes. Just learn to laugh at yourself, and the world will be a lot better. You yourself will be a much better person too. Anyway, thank you all for sticking with me so far. I hope this video wasn't too rough for you. And I hope I enticed you enough to read Alex's memoir. I will be back next Sunday, as I promised. I will post a book review every Sunday. And for next Sunday, I came across a memoir a while back. One of the most unique reads I've ever come across in my life. One thing I love about memoirs, I love it when they're firsthand accounts in a time and place so far removed from anything you know. And this one had everything. It'll make you laugh. It'll just shock you. Like, there were so many wonderful stories. But of course, I'll get into that more next week when I review Call the Midwife. Thank you very much, everyone, and hope you have a wonderful week.